You're listening to Travel Tales with Fergal.
Hello, my name is Fergal O'Keefe and you're very welcome to Season 3 of the Travel Tales with Fergal podcast. The podcast is a very simple premise where I chat to a special guest every Tuesday where I ask for 5 trips or places that most influenced or impressed them. My guests come from all walks of life with one thing in common. They all have great travel stories. And this podcast is now listened to in over 80 countries worldwide. I'm delighted to say that my guest today is Sharon Jordan, MD of the Irish Travel Trade Network. ITTN specialises in delivering topical travel news to both consumers and the trade in Ireland. Sharon has worked for over 30 years in the international travel industry. So today we get an expert's view on the travel trends for 2022-2023 and an insight into how the travel industry is going to recover post-pandemic. Hello Sharon, you're very welcome to the podcast. You are the MD of Irish Travel Trade Network, ITTN, which is known well to people. So that's travel news and more for consumers and for the industry. But you bought it during the middle of the pandemic.
I did. Mad. Absolutely insane, some people might say. But you know, with every bad time, there's always opportunity. So I'm holding on to that with a firm grasp in the hope that the opportunity does arise sometime in the near future. But yeah, bought it in, I was actually on maternity leave with my son during lockdown 1, and sorry, I hadn't even had him yet when the conversation started happening about purchasing the company, and lockdown 1 came out of nowhere, and then we spent a couple of months negotiating, and then before I know it, lo and behold, it's December 2020, and the deal was signed and done. So I was very fortunate to purchase it off a man called Michael Flood, which a lot of your listeners and viewers would be very au fait with, a man who's been in the industry a very, very long time. And yeah, we were in Herbert Park and we signed on the dotted line by doing this in lockdown. And yeah, we had to get a passerby to witness the contract because obviously, you know, it was lockdown and nobody was working, nobody was doing anything. So it was an interesting time and you know, surreal really because of the way it happened. But here we are almost 10 months on, and the company is starting to come out of the
And you went from 1 to 8, and I don't know how many you have now, but have you more than 8 now? How many employees have you?
We have 9 on the team now, yeah. So it was just me at the start, obviously, and then I was very, very lucky to get Sean Davenport on board as editor-in-chief, and he takes care of kind of the whole plans and strategy for the sites and the news and all the stories that are going on. And then I kind of built out that way. I got someone to help with social media, so I got Ali on board, and then I got Joan Scales, former Irish Times journalist, on board to help with the new product that I launched in the middle of all of this, which was Travel to Ireland, which I decided to do on a whim one day because nobody could leave the country, and I was like, here I am all day, every day, talking about things that we can't do. So why don't we start talking about things that we can do? So Travel to Ireland was born out of ITTN, and what can I say about Travel to Ireland? Only she was kind of the thing that kept us sane during the months we couldn't travel. And she's now grown legs, and she's a really, really beautiful product. If you go out to see, she's really consumer direct, and I mean, she's a really fun product about stuff going on in Ireland that I never even knew about. So very excited with that product.
Like, I'm interested to hear what you think about how things are now, say tour operators or people who were in the tour industry in Ireland. It's been a tough 18 months, but is it coming out of it now, or how do they feel?
It's interesting. Like, I've been at a couple of conferences abroad actually in the last few weeks, but a lot of the people speaking at those conferences were from America, and they were saying, you know, this pent-up demand to get to Ireland is real, and it's like it's tangible. You can almost taste it. So I would imagine 2022 is going to be a nice start to the season, and we're going to see some real business back. But I mean, it's going to take a while. It's going to take a year or two. I mean, Fáilte Ireland, Tourism Ireland, all these bodies that we have are doing incredible work across the world at the moment with the work-life balance really came into play. And I mean, like yourself, I've been away to 4 countries in the last 5 weeks, and it's just been magical to get away. As much as I love my own country, and I really do, it's just been magical to get on that plane and get abroad. But God, there's nothing like that. Virgo, you've been away. I know you were away with one of my colleagues.
Yeah.
The feeling of when that plane opens and the
Exactly.
heat hits your face, and just the joy of travel.
Even being in Dublin Airport, it's just that holiday mode again, just getting that feeling. And when I was abroad, I know what you thought, but I found very safe, and there was no issues about COVID or no hesitancies or anything like that. It felt fine, didn't it?
Yeah. I think they're way ahead of us, particularly in Europe. Obviously, they're way ahead of us. I haven't been stateside yet, but Fionn, who works with me in the team, he was over at Powwow in Vegas, and he felt the same way. I just think they're streets ahead of us in terms of opening, perhaps is the way to put it. So they're more used to, like everything is probably a little bit more easy flowing because they've been open for a little bit longer. So they've just naturally become very used to it, whereas we're still that little bit behind, and we're still that little bit more kind of nervous and cautious. And I suppose, every element of it, I felt very safe. Even when I was in Portugal there last weekend, Portugal have done away with the restrictions, wearing masks indoors. You don't have to do any of that anymore. And it's amazing how, as human beings, we've become quite adaptable, because within 3 days, like, we arrived as a group of Irish, almost 90 of us, and we were all masked up and sanitized and everything's going on. And then they told us on the coach, done away with the restrictions. And slowly but surely we started to, take the masks off. And of course, you're going to still sanitize and socially distance. You have to do that. That's the future. But it was actually funny, 3 days later when we arrived at Lisbon airport, they were like, stop, put your masks on. We got so used to it. Like, as human beings, just like that, we're back to normal,
I saw in an article about you had a line that I hadn't seen: revenge tourism. It was talking about trends in 2022. What is that?
Yeah, well, it was a big buzzword during the lockdown. Everyone was like, just get me out of here. I'm going to go everywhere. I'm going to just flood the world with revenge tourism. And I can see a few people doing it, actually. I'm seeing it more and more, as we upgrade our social media now. We're not seeing the coast of Ireland, we're starting to see the Maldives and Mauritius, we're starting to see parts of Europe. But yeah, no, revenge tourism never took off, to be honest. Really, the reality of it is people just want to see their friends and family. And they just want to reconnect with the world that they used to have, which was just the freedom of hop, skip and jumping over to Spain or Portugal or down to France. It was all very well and good. I don't know how many times, like yourself, probably stood at the window looking out going, get me out of here. And then, I was like, why didn't I take that trip to India? Why didn't I take that trip to Thailand? Why didn't I? But then when the reality came, I just wanted to go see my mum and dad, and I just wanted to see friends. So yeah, I think
I know. And that brings us actually to your first place, nicely, Lanzarote. You mentioned your parents.
Yeah.
So they live there.
Yeah, they live there. Yeah. They live out in a place called Playa Blanca in Lanzarote. So they lived there for about 12, 13 years. They retired out there, and very tough lockdown out there, actually. They were only allowed to leave their house for 45 minutes a day, and it was only to walk the dog or to go for groceries or, to the shops. Like, at least we could walk within a 2K for exercise and all that stuff. They didn't have that at all. So it was very, very tough on them. And particularly, they had a grandson during lockdown as well. They didn't get to meet. So obviously we're different countries and everything. So I was very fortunate to get over to them 2 or 3 weeks ago for 10 days. So it was lovely.
And was that the first time that they saw their grandson?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And what age is he?
Lanzarote, spiritual home, in terms of the fact it's like, it's like a second home. You go over, my mum and dad have RT and the TV, and you've got the beach down the road, but they've still got all the home comforts of Ireland set up over there. So yeah, I love going over when I can. Yeah.
It's so popular with Irish. Why do you think it's so popular? What is it?
I don't know. To be honest, I think it's because it's winter sun. It's the only place you can really go outside of Morocco or Dubai that you can get winter sun. And the Canary Islands in general are hugely popular for Europeans, Scandinavians, Germans, English, and ourselves. But Lanzarote tends to be the Irish island. The English tend to go Tenerife, a little bit Gran Canaria, but Lanzarote, it's pure Ireland. It's Ireland on a stick. But it's just, in the last few years again, really upgraded itself, the same as most of the Canary Islands actually have as well. We've got more upmarket, more 4 or 5 star. I think it's just, it's all about airlift, Fergal, to be honest, as well. I mean, everybody goes there. Aer Lingus, Ryanair, they're all there. So you're going to go somewhere in the winter, get some sun. That's where you're going to head.
So your next one on the list then is cruise holidays. And I presume you said you've been 30 years in the business, so you were involved working on that side of the business, weren't you?
So I've been in the cruise, probably I've been in both sides of the cruise. I've been in ocean cruising and river cruising. So I've got to see the 2 different sides of it. So I've got to see the luxury ocean liners. I've got to see big ships, small ships all around the world. But for me, I mean, it's just the best way to travel. It really is. I mean, you get to see destination after destination after destination without having to unpack. All the work's done for you. All the entertainment is done for you. The food is exceptional. I mean, it's a win-win. I mean, cruising is just incredible. But I particularly love river cruising actually because we kind of overlook a lot of Germany and Austria as Irish travellers. And when you actually sail down those rivers, they're just absolutely beautiful. And Portugal as well is a beautiful region. It's gorgeous in China, Asia. There's lots of different rivers that you can go on that are just beautiful. But
have you done cruises all over the world?
Not all over the world. I've probably done about 30 ocean cruises and probably about 15 to 20 river cruises. So I've done my fair share, but I haven't done them all over the world. Haven't done Australia, New Zealand. That's high on the bucket list. Another one on the bucket list is Alaska. Definitely want to do that one. And I'd love to see the Northern Lights as well. That's another big, huge one for me. But I tend to be one of those people that, because I travel so much, when I do travel, I like it to be in Europe. So I kind of hit the 5 hour or less.
So where would you, if you had to pick one then, what one jumps, first one that comes into your head?
Well, one I haven't done in Alaska is the one I really want to do. But just putting that out there in case there's any cruise lines watching that I would really like to go to Alaska. Caribbean's beautiful, Caribbean, but I love the Mediterranean because the history at all the stops as well. I love to get off and see the little towns and see what's going on. But oh God, it's just gorgeous. The Baltics as well is beautiful. Well, one of my favorite river cruises actually was Russia. It was from Moscow up to St. Petersburg. Stunning. Oh my goodness, it's beautiful. So
you can actually go on the river right up from Moscow to St. Petersburg and you pass towns along the way.
I did Moscow to St. Petersburg. It's just, oh my God, magical. It's about 10 days. It's just stunning. But river cruise in general, I mean, I did even one in the Douro River in Portugal and beautiful. I mean, to go down now, there was a lot of port, not going to lie. So that did help. And the weather was stunning, but the views and the scenery along rivers is just beautiful, really, really gorgeous. When you're on the ocean cruises, you can either dabble in or dabble out. I mean, you can just stay within your own or you can actually meet people. So it's really up to you what you personally like. I love to chat and meet people, so I like that side of it. And especially on the river cruises, because they're so small, you will actually meet more people, because only about 100, 150 people on them. So you're definitely going to meet lots of different characters around the world, and predominantly on these ships, you're mostly going to meet English-speaking people as well. So whether they're from Europe or whether they're from English-speaking regions, everyone would have high-quality English. So you're not going to have that language barrier as much as you might do if you were traveling, independently.
And how is the cruise industry going now? They're slowly going back, I presume, but they were hit very hard, weren't they?
They were, absolutely. They were decimated is the word I would use. I mean, to see these big ships just docked out at sea, and the cost alone and keeping them out at sea, and the staffing, I mean, you're talking about thousands and thousands of people across the world without jobs because of it, like every industry, I suppose. But yeah, they're going to get back slowly. You can see every week you see a new cruise ship going back out to sea and go back on its route. So it's really nice to see that, but it's going to take time. It's going to take huge pent-up demand for it, though, by the way, because a lot of people, especially in the UK, are, there's a lot of cruise ships going around the UK at the moment. They're basically full, as far as I can see. Capacity is what they can do. But I think 2022, 2023, you're going to see real cruises back in action, and they haven't stopped building. They're anticipating a good 5 years, I'd say, ahead of them.
So now your next one is something I love and I can't wait to get back to at some stage: ski holidays.
Listen, I can't wait to get my ski boots on, and it's actually the trending product at the moment. So ski is big news for 2021, 2022, and expect that to even get bigger 2022, 2023. I'd say they probably even start selling 2022, 2023 very soon, because it's going to be so pent up demand. Big market out of Ireland, almost 80,000 people, And 80,000 people who haven't been able to go for the last 2 to 3 years is, a big amount of people that will go to these small resorts. And I know some of the resorts are already full. Some of them are saying we're absolutely at capacity. We can't take anybody else. And so it's not a question of lift, because we've got the airlift back in the skies, thank God. But it's a question of whether the resorts have availability, because it's not just Irish people that are excited to get back skiing, it's the rest of Europe as well.
I got an email this morning actually from someone and saying, it's not too late to book the ski holiday. And I thought they were taking the mick, but obviously they meant it.
Yeah. It's the big hot topic. It's like if you were to talk to any travel agent, and I've been in many travel agents across the country, talking to them, whether it's in their shops or talking to them at conferences or whatever in the last few weeks, ski. That's all everyone. And it's funny because pre-pandemic it was all cruise, and now and then I'd say when the ski season ends, cruise will kick back in then, and that's what will become very very popular for people. But I mean, isn't it beautiful? It's a great way. It's a great holiday. So exhilarating and so fun, and you just feel out. And I think we've been locked up so much to get up on those slopes and actually just, feel the wind on your face and the frostbite on your toes. And to get down to the après ski, it's going to be magic. I just can't wait to get skiing. I really can't. That whole come down off the slopes, have the drinks, go for your meal. Sometimes you're still in your ski gear, go for your meal, and then you're into bed early and then up the next day. Oh,
certain resorts that are favourites with yours.
Yeah, well, I've skied mostly Europe. I'm not sure about yourself, but mostly Europe.
Only Europe, actually.
You're only Europe. So I've done Canada as well. I've done Scandinavia, I suppose, Europe. And I've done some of the Eastern European countries, which are coming up the lines. I suppose I shouldn't say this, but France would not be a favourite of mine, probably because I'm a big fan of ski in, ski out, and a lot of French resorts don't have that. Now a load of them do. I know I'm probably the French tourist was probably going to be on on the phone to me in about 5 minutes, give it out. I tend to have a go for Austria, I have to say, and I love the après ski in Austria. The only thing about Austria is obviously it's low altitude, it's not high altitude, so you don't get your march skiing as much as you would in other areas. But right now all I want is 100 kilometers of slopes and ski boots and the gear, and I'm off. I don't care where it is. Just that whole idea of it, just the freedom of it, I think is what's really appealing to people this year.
I know, it's just great. Even just thinking about it, half the crack. I don't know if you're the same, but for me, I just love, the booking of holidays and where I'm going to go and the planning and all that. It's just, I can't wait to be getting back to that again.
I shouldn't say this, but when I've been talking to people in the last few weeks, every time they mention a destination, my brain starts going, now where can I start planning that one? Where can I put that one in next year? Where can that go?
Exactly.
Even at the moment in my head, I'm like, that plan Christmas. Maybe we'll go skiing at Christmas.
So your next one is Ashford Castle, which is a very special place.
Yeah. And I have a grow for that because when I worked my previous life, I worked for a company called the Travel Corporation, and they own Red Carnation, who purchased Ashford Castle when I was working for them. And so I just have a really special place in my heart for it. And I mean, it is just like heaven on earth, really, to be honest. It doesn't matter what season it is, it's just magical, and the people and the locations.
Just Ashford, what is it? Why do you think it's, because I agree. I remember for my wife's 25th birthday, I surprised her at Ashford many years ago. And I remember we were staying there and we felt like, we're the only Irish people there, and we felt sort of like the peasants nearly, And I remember we were in the restaurant and got the cheapest bottle of wine on the list, and the sommelier was walking by and he stopped and he said, can I taste your wine? And he took a little sip of the wine and said, oh, that's off. And then he got his really amazing bottle of wine on the house. And I don't know if he just did it because he felt sorry for us or what, but really added to the occasion.
I'm sure it did. Well, it goes back to what I was saying with staff, isn't it? It's the people. It's the people that make Ashford. For me, it's like the warm welcome you get and just everything about it. It's just, the people have been there for years, 15, 20, 30 years, even more. And then they have a wonderful leader in Niall Rochford, who's the general manager down there. And I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful spot. I mean, the location, the rooms, and with the Tolman investment now going back a number of years, it's just incredible. But I do get the pauper thing, Yeah. Most of the time I stay down there, I stay in the lodge part because it suits, family better, the kids and stuff like that. But I do get when I go in there, I feel I have imposter syndrome
exactly.
a little bit. Like, yeah.
I remember we were having a picnic in front of the lake and like a salmon jumped out of the water. It was just ridiculous. It was just so amazing. Like
Disney movie stuff, isn't it? Like,
really, it really is. Yeah. And you're right about the staff, because they were just...
It's part of the region, really, isn't it? I mean,
exactly.
Yeah.
And so your last place is Croatia, which is another spot I haven't been to. It's terrible. It's on my list as well. So, and everyone just loves it. Is it amazing there?
Yeah. If I was you now, I'd put that right up to the top of the list there if I was you. I mean, just Croatia in general, just to me, is just stunning. And it has been since the first time I actually went there, which I think was 2002, 2003, was post-war, so a little bit later than that, actually. But absolutely just beautiful, absolutely stunning. I was very fortunate to, at the time, I was in a previous life as well, I was putting together holiday programs. So I crossed the border into Montenegro, which is gorgeous as well. If you've ever been down to Montenegro, stunning. And all that entire region, and then up into Albania, is just absolutely beautiful. It really is. So the Dalmatian coast is just absolutely, it's breathtaking. I mean, it's stuff of movies, like we were saying about Disney movies, but this is the stuff of, like, when you think about sun resorts, this is what you would actually expect it to be like. It's just fantastic. The food, the people are very like Irish, and they've got that kind of Irish mentality of just having fun and really relaxed, and just everything about it. The hotels are wonderful. Beaches are clean, super clean. The food is incredible. It's just, it's my spiritual home. I think as soon as I land there, I go, fabulous. Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. And I love every part of it.
Beautiful. And particularly Dubrovnik.
Particularly Dubrovnik, yeah. But I think that's probably because I used to, obviously work down there a little bit more. But every part of it, Zagreb, the city's beautiful, all the way up to what's called Nepart, and there's Istria, the Istrian region. Then you've got Split. All along there, beautiful, and inland as well. I mean, just absolutely stunning place. And I would highly recommend anyone to get on those Aer Lingus planes and get down there as soon as they can. Well, not in the winter, because obviously you can't, but in the summertime. Beautiful place to go, May and June, because the weather's just perfect and it's not too busy. Also a great place to go now, because the cruise ships aren't obviously packing the place out on a daily basis. So this summer is over now, I suppose, but early next summer, you're not going to see the cruise ships go until a little bit later. So it's a good time to go, because those cruise ships, dock and take over the cities, as these small little cities. But it really is like Dubrovnik to me is like, and some of Game of Thrones is filmed there. It's really like the set of a movie. It's just absolutely stunning. Beautiful.
Have you been to the islands? Have you been to any islands?
I did a thing a couple of years ago where I sailed around the islands, and each island is individually different. So like if you went, so like what the itinerary I put together, I let a Croatian man put it to the guy who owned the boat to put it together for me. So at the time I was probably in my maybe my early 30s, and he was like, right, one night we'll do a party island, then the next night we'll do a quiet island, then the next night we'll just dock out in the ocean, or in the sea, sorry, I should say, it's not the ocean. And it was just beautiful, because some of them, like Hvar, a stunning nightlife. You know, it's like a beat in Croatia. And then the next night we go to somewhere like Korčula, which doesn't even have cars on the island. So it's just like you walk around these fishing villages, and you dock up. But each island is individually just fabulous. I mean, there's so many of them I couldn't even talk about. I think they've almost 2,000 islands actually, but I've probably hit about 20 or 30 of them, I'd say. As I said, no cars, literally just walk around the island by foot. And, then other ones are just like small little islands where you have the cars, but there's no nightlife, and it's just fishing villages.
The boat trip, would that be good as a family holiday, do you think?
It depends on the age of the kids. Like, I'd love to do it now, but my kids are too young. But if your kids were, say, 8 up, it's just stunning. couple of different companies that do it. One of them, I think, is Sunsail, and there's a couple of different local ones around Croatia that do. But magic. I mean, even they get like stuff, if you have the kids on board, you get stuff like they could have the donuts in the back of the, like you've got all the fun things that you could do, and like you can go as basic or as high end as you want. I mean, you could do like what we did. We had a chef and a skipper on board, so we didn't have to drive, so we could have the drink. We could have the beautiful wine in the middle of the ocean, where we could get off and party. And then we paid for a chef between us. And at the time there was 12 friends that went on it, so it was like relatively inexpensive when you think about what you're getting. About 2,000, including all your food, and your transport to each island, and your accommodation at night. And accommodation down in Croatia wouldn't be all that cheap, So when you work it out like that, it's good value, I suppose, more so than cheap. It's good value. But magic, yeah. I can't wait for my kids to be old enough to do it, because it's just stunning holiday, stunning holiday.
I'm actually following a guy at the moment. He's cycling from Akel to Athens. And last week he was going through Croatia, and it was all along the coast. He went into Montenegro, and it looked amazing. The photos.
Yeah, Montenegro is just, it's beautiful. I mean, the areas down Montenegro, Tivat, Budva. I mean, you're in these little restaurants, and so cheap. Down in Montenegro, Croatia would be that little bit more expensive because it's obviously more cosmopolitan, I suppose the word. But Montenegro, I mean, you're sitting at some tables and your feet could be dipping in the sea, and these beautiful big meals coming out that are like fish this size, and just the garlic and the salads and just gorgeous crisp wine, and it's just magic, absolutely magic.
Would it be hard to get to Montenegro? Would you fly to Croatia? Could you go over land or?
Yeah, so if I was going to Montenegro, I'd fly to Dubrovnik, and then I'd transfer over. They have a thing, the border, obviously, and they call it no man's land in between. It takes about 45 minutes, so it's not far at all.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
No, you'd be over the border. You'd be from Croatia into Montenegro in about 45 minutes, into Tivat. Would it be Tivat? Yeah, it'd be Tivat. And then you just, I mean, most people would holiday in either Budva. Tivat is kind of more city-ish. Well, not really. Budva is where you would go on holidays. And it's absolutely gorgeous down that part of the world. I mean, it really is stunning.
I think I'm sold. I think for next summer, that could be the one.
If you had 2 weeks, you could even get if you did one of those boat trips, they'd even take in Montenegro for you, because they would be able to do that if you had 2 weeks. It's just phenomenal.
You've really got my, it's like armchair traveling, but like, I want to go on the internet now and start looking that up once I get off.
That's the joy of all this. That's the joy of this industry, the travel industry.
Exactly.
You get to experience all these beautiful places and all these lovely.
So my last question, if you close your eyes and take 4 deep breaths and think of your happy place, where would that be and why?
I have to close my eyes and see what pops into my head.
Exactly.
I'm going to have to be corny and say there's no place like home. So as much as I love to travel, there's no place like home and getting home. And for me, it's when you arrive back into Dublin Airport and you get off that plane and you just get that sense of belonging at home. So to me, that's my corny answer to that question, Fergal. I'm sorry I let you down.
No, you're right. And I was talking, my podcast today, actually, I was talking about that because I had Russ Parsons on, who's American, who moved to Ireland from Los Angeles, and he loves the rain. And I was going, when I'm flying back into Ireland, I do love the green, and you can't have the green without the rain,
Yeah, well, that's true. That is very, very true.
I would ask if you could please subscribe to Apple Podcast so a new episode will appear in your library every week. I would also really appreciate if you could leave a rating and a review, as it helps others to discover this podcast. To find out who's on every Tuesday, please follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Travel Tales with Fergal. Stay safe and keep dreaming of future travels.
Travel Tales with Fergal.